It was 11:30 p.m. when my phone lit up with the Instagram notification. Cassandra was going live again. I almost ignored it, but something about the caption made me stop. Big announcement. Life-changing news. I watched my sister raise a champagne flute to the camera, her perfectly contoured face glowing in the restaurant's ambient lighting. "Guys, you will not believe what I just did," she squealed to her 500,000 followers. "I literally just signed the papers to sell our family company. $40 million. Can you even?" My stomach dropped as she continued, gesturing wildly with manicured nails. "The company my uncle built from nothing, and now it's mine to do whatever I want with." Sorry, not sorry, little sis, but someone had to make the adult decisions around here. The comments were exploding with fire emojis and congratulations from people who had no idea what they were witnessing. I took a screenshot, my hands trembling slightly as I added it to the folder on my desktop labeled Evidence. My name is Vivian Anderson, and I was about to show my sister the difference between social media success and real business acumen. The bitter irony was that if Cassandra had attended even one strategy meeting in the past year instead of jet-setting to influencer events and brand partnerships, she might have noticed what Uncle Robert and I had been planning. But she'd always been like this, showing up for photo ops and paychecks, disappearing when actual work was required. I opened my laptop and sent a quick message to Eleanor, my former business school mentor and now my legal advisor. She actually did it. Time for phase 1. The response came within seconds. "Documents are ready." She walked right into it. 12 hours later, I sat in my startup office in downtown Seattle, watching the morning coffee crowd rush past my windows. This space, with its exposed brick walls and buzz of focused energy, represented everything I'd built on my own. A success story that Cassandra was now trying to destroy by selling our uncle's company to Monarch Enterprises. Uncle Robert had taken over the family business after my parents died in that accident 3 years ago. What started as a small importing company in the 1990s had grown into a major logistics operation serving the entire West Coast. He'd been more than an uncle to us, he'd been our guardian, our mentor, and apparently, my secret ally. My phone rang, Eleanor calling from her law office in San Francisco. "Vivian, you need to see what she submitted to Monarch. The proposal, it's not legally binding in the way she thinks it is." I opened my email, already grinning. "Send it over." The document appeared moments later. There it was, a Cassandra's glossy presentation to Monarch Enterprises, complete with her headshots and social media metrics, as if follower count determined business value. What my sister didn't realize was that over the past year, while she was busy posting sponsored content and dating tech bros, Uncle Robert had been quietly preparing me to take over. Every board meeting she missed, every financial document she signed without reading, had been part of a careful plan to protect the family legacy. "Did you see the ownership structure section?" Eleanor asked, still on the line. She still thinks she's the primary heir because she's the eldest daughter. "Yeah. She has no idea about the stewardship clause Uncle Robert put in place." Eleanor's chuckle was knowing. "Should we tell her about the competency requirements?" "Not yet. Let her keep performing for the cameras while we handle the real business." After hanging up, I walked through my small but efficient office space, checking in with my team of 12. Unlike Cassandra, who thought business meant networking events and LinkedIn selfies, I'd spent the last 3 years building something real from the ground up. My digital marketing startup had gone from 0 to 2 million in revenue, and every success had been earned through late nights and smart decisions. Uncle Robert used to say, "Success isn't inherited, it's earned." Cassandra never understood that. She thought being the eldest daughter entitled her to everything: the company, the respect, the family fortune. She'd never bothered to learn actual business, assuming her Instagram fame would somehow translate into corporate leadership. My phone buzzed again, this time with a direct message from Cassandra. "Family meeting tomorrow at Uncle Robert's. 10 a.m. sharp. Time to make this official, little sis. Try not to cry when I explain how real business works." I typed back, "Wouldn't miss it." That evening, I gathered my core team at my townhouse in Bellevue, the same place where I'd hosted countless strategy sessions, where I'd learned the value of building genuine partnerships instead of just collecting followers. "Everything's ready," reported Marcus, my former colleague who now managed Uncle Robert's logistics operations. "The financial audits, the competency assessments, all the documentation." "And the employees at the main company?" I asked. Diana, who handled the books for both my startup and Uncle Robert's business, grinned. "They're behind you 100%. Every department head signed the statement of support." I looked around the room at these people who'd watched me build my company from nothing, who'd seen Cassandra's increasingly desperate attempts to monetize the family name over the past year. "Tomorrow's going to be intense," I said. "Are you all certain about this?" Marcus spoke first, his voice steady. "Your uncle didn't spend 30 years building that company just to have it stripped for parts by some investment fund. We're with you." The next morning, I arrived early at Uncle Robert's estate in Medina, watching the morning light reflect off Lake Washington. This house, with its understated elegance, represented everything our family valued: substance over flash, quality over quantity. At 9:45, Cassandra's white Tesla pulled into the driveway, followed by a black sedan carrying the Monarch Enterprises representatives. She stepped out wearing a designer suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary, her phone already recording everything for her stories. "Viv," she called out, using the nickname she knew annoyed me. "Ready to watch your big sister change the game forever?" I met her confident smile with a composed one of my own. "Can't wait." Uncle Robert's study filled quickly, company executives, Eleanor joining by video call, and the Monarch Enterprises team settling around the mahogany conference table. Cassandra positioned herself at Uncle Robert's right hand, practically glowing with anticipation. "Thank you all for coming," Uncle Robert began, his voice carrying the authority of 3 decades in business. "Today we're here to discuss the future of Anderson Logistics." Cassandra jumped in immediately. "Uncle Robert, I'm thrilled to announce that Monarch Enterprises has agreed to acquire our company for $40 million. She paused, clearly expecting congratulations. The room remained silent. "I've already signed the preliminary agreements," she continued, slightly flustered. "As the primary heir and designated successor, I'm sorry," I interrupted, standing up, "but there seems to be some confusion about that." Cassandra's smile faltered. "Confusion about what?" "Your position. You're not the designated successor, Cassandra. You never were." The room went quiet as Uncle Robert opened a leather portfolio and began distributing documents. "What are you talking about?" Cassandra demanded, her carefully applied makeup unable to hide the flush creeping up her neck. "Of course I'm the heir. I'm the eldest daughter. Uncle Robert always said." "Uncle Robert named you as interim successor," I corrected, "subject to board approval and contingent on active participation in company management." "Would you like to know how many strategy meetings you've attended in the past year?" The Monarch Enterprises representatives were scanning through the documents Uncle Robert had distributed, their expressions growing increasingly uncomfortable. "These participation records," one of them said slowly, "show Ms. Anderson has been absent from 22 out of 24 mandatory strategic planning sessions." Cassandra waved her hand dismissively, her rings catching the light. "That's just bureaucratic nonsense. I'm the eldest daughter. I inherited this position fair and square." This was the moment I'd been waiting for. I nodded to Uncle Robert, who stood up with quiet authority. "Actually," he said, "according to the stewardship clause I established last year, succession rights were contingent on demonstrating actual business competency and commitment, requirements you failed to meet." He turned to the Monarch team. "I'm afraid Cassandra no longer has the authority to negotiate any sale." Cassandra's face went from surprised to furious. "You're lying. This is impossible." Uncle Robert pulled out a thick folder, the stewardship agreement he'd had drafted 18 months ago, after watching Cassandra's increasingly reckless behavior with company resources. "I knew this day would come, Cassandra. That's why I put these protections in place. The monarch representatives were already closing their laptops, making polite but hasty excuses about needing to reassess the situation. "This is ridiculous," Cassandra snapped, her composure finally cracking. "You think you can just steal my inheritance?" "No, Cassandra," I said, standing up calmly. "I think I can save Uncle Robert's company." "There's a difference." As Cassandra stormed out, her phone already in hand to film some dramatic response video, I sat down across from Uncle Robert, feeling the weight of real responsibility settle on my shoulders. Phase 1 was complete, but the real work was just beginning. My phone buzzed a message from Eleanor. "Ready for Phase 2? I looked around the room at the people who'd supported this plan, who trusted me to lead the company into its next chapter. "Yes," I replied. "Time to show everyone what Anderson Logistics can really achieve." The media attention started immediately. "Instagram influencers' corporate coup fails spectacularly," read the tech blogs. My LinkedIn was flooded with messages from reporters, all wanting to know how the quiet startup founder had outmaneuvered her social media star sister. I ignored them all, focusing instead on the angry email that had just arrived from Cassandra's entertainment lawyer. "Our client disputes the validity of the stewardship clause. Expect legal action." I forwarded it to Eleanor, who responded within minutes. "Let her try. Your uncle's documentation is bulletproof." The next few weeks were intense. While Cassandra waged her social media war, posting tearful videos about family betrayal to her followers, I focused on actually running the business. Every morning I was in the office before 7 a.m., just like Uncle Robert had taught me. Every evening I stayed late, reviewing logistics contracts, meeting with department heads, learning every aspect of operations I hadn't already mastered. "You don't have to do everything yourself," Marcus said one night, finding me still at my desk at 9 p.m. That's what got Cassandra in trouble, thinking she could control a company without understanding how it actually works. I looked up from the logistics optimization reports I was reviewing. "I'm not trying to control everything. I'm trying to understand everything. There's a difference." And there was. Unlike Cassandra, who saw the company as her personal brand extension, I saw it as a complex ecosystem, hundreds of relationships and processes that had to work in harmony. Every decision affected real people with real livelihoods. A month after the failed sale, I called an all-hands meeting at the main Anderson facility. Nearly 200 employees gathered in the warehouse space, their faces showing curiosity mixed with cautious hope. "Many of you have worked here for years," I began, helping Uncle Robert build this company from a small import business into a major logistics operation. When Cassandra tried to sell it, she saw our success as her personal jackpot. But I see it differently. I clicked to the first slide of my presentation. Our new ownership structure. Starting today, Anderson Logistics is implementing a profit-sharing program. Every full-time employee will receive quarterly bonuses based on company performance, with additional benefits tied to years of service. The room buzzed with excited whispers. This was what Uncle Robert and I had been developing for the past year, a way to ensure the people who built our success would share in its rewards. "Uncle Robert always believed in building things that endure," I continued. "Not just efficient systems, but strong teams, loyal partnerships, sustainable growth. That's what we're going to achieve together." The applause was enthusiastic and genuine. I could see veteran employees nodding with approval. They remembered Uncle Robert's promises about taking care of his team. Later that afternoon, Eleanor called with urgent news. Cassandra's lawyer just filed an emergency motion trying to halt the profit-sharing implementation. They're demanding a competency hearing next week. I wasn't surprised. Perfect. Time to show a judge exactly why Uncle Robert chose me. The hearing was scheduled for Thursday morning. I arrived at the courthouse early, wearing a sharp business suit, the kind Uncle Robert always said commanded respect through professionalism, not flash. Cassandra arrived 20 minutes late, flanked by her entertainment lawyer and still filming herself on her phone. "This is corporate theft," she announced dramatically as soon as the judge asked for her statement. My sister has stolen my rightful inheritance through legal manipulation. I sat calmly as her lawyer presented their case, claiming the stewardship clause was discriminatory, that family succession shouldn't depend on arbitrary business metrics. When our turn came, Eleanor stood up confidently. Your Honor, we'd like to present evidence demonstrating why the stewardship clause was not only valid but essential for protecting this family business. For the next hour, we methodically showed the judge everything: Cassandra's complete absence from strategic planning, her unauthorized use of company credit cards for personal expenses, her public statements treating the business as her content creation funding source. But the most compelling evidence came from Uncle Robert himself. We'd like to play an audio recording, Eleanor announced, made by Robert Anderson 3 months ago. Cassandra's head snapped up as Uncle Robert's voice filled the courtroom. The recording was clear and deliberate, obviously planned. If you're hearing this in court, Uncle Robert began, it means Cassandra has challenged my decision about succession. I want to be absolutely clear about my reasoning. Both my nieces have potential, but only one has demonstrated the dedication and competency required to lead a serious business. His voice grew more serious. Cassandra, you have charisma and creativity, but you've never understood that what we built here isn't just an income stream, it's a responsibility to our employees and their families. Uncle Robert's tone softened slightly as he continued. Vivian, if you're hearing this, it means you've stepped up when it mattered. The stewardship clause wasn't about favoring one niece over another. It was about ensuring our company remains in hands that understand its true value. By the time the recording ended, Cassandra had gone completely silent, her usual confidence nowhere to be seen. The judge took only 10 minutes to make his decision. The stewardship clause stands, he declared. Furthermore, Ms. Anderson's claims of inheritance theft are dismissed with prejudice. Outside the courthouse, Cassandra caught up to me, her usual social media bravado replaced by genuine frustration. You've destroyed everything, she said, her voice shaking. I could have made us both wealthy beyond imagination. I turned to face her, really seeing my sister for the first time in months. We were already building wealth, Cassandra. Not just money, but something sustainable. You just never bothered to understand it. So that's it? I get nothing? You get exactly what Uncle Robert specified: support for finding actual work and professional development. The choice is yours. She walked away, but I noticed her shoulders were no longer squared with false confidence. For the first time, she looked less like an entitled influencer and more like someone who might actually have to grow up. Back at the Anderson offices, the transformation was remarkable. Employee partners approached their work with renewed energy, contributing ideas and taking ownership of outcomes. We secured 2 major new logistics contracts in the first quarter alone. 6 months later, I stood in our expanded warehouse space, celebrating our most successful financial period ever. The profit-sharing program had motivated everyone to think like owners, leading to innovations and efficiencies we'd never achieved before. Uncle Robert would be proud, Marcus said, watching the celebration. He'd be proud of all of us, I replied. That evening, as I was leaving the office, I found an unexpected visitor waiting in the parking lot. Cassandra. I've been working with a business coach, she said without her usual dramatic flair, trying to understand what I did wrong. I waited, giving her space to continue. I never really saw it, you know. What Uncle Robert was actually building. I just saw the lifestyle it could fund, the status it could give me. But watching what you've accomplished here. She gestured toward our thriving facility. I finally get it. What do you want, Cassandra? She pulled out a folder, a business proposal. I want to contribute. Really contribute, using skills I actually have. If you'll consider it. I studied my sister's face, seeing something genuinely different there: focus, maybe even determination. Start Monday, I said. 8 a.m. sharp. You'll work with Marcus in operations, learning every system, every process. No shortcuts. Her smile was different now, uncertain, but genuine. Thank you, V. I mean, Vivian. As I watched her leave, I thought about Uncle Robert, about responsibility and growth, about the difference between being handed success and building it yourself. The next morning, I arrived at my usual time, just as the sun was rising over Lake Washington. The office was quiet, but not for long. Soon it would buzz with activity, with purpose, with the energy of employee partners working to build something meaningful and sustainable. My phone buzzed, a message from Eleanor. "Did you really give Cassandra a chance?" "Everyone deserves an opportunity to prove they can grow," I replied. "Even her." And that was the real lesson, wasn't it? Success isn't about what you're handed. It's about what you create, who you lift up along the way, and the impact you choose to make. Uncle Robert used to say every successful business tells a story. Now I understood, we all write our own stories. The key is making sure they're worth sharing.